Oh man, can't wait. Oh, we alive, baby. Let me just get my phones ready. I'm gonna full screen this. I'm not gonna stay in their chat, but look at that chat go, baby. Look at it go. Man, wish I had an active chat like that. Friendly peoples. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Yo, Leonard, what's up, dude? Welcome to the stream. We're going to be watching the PS5 reveal update in 12 minutes, dude. 12 minutes. No, actually, I just cut the sides off. It's the same hairstyle I've had for a while, so just cut the sides off and whatnot. Dude, I'm getting hyped. The hype is too real right now, dude. But 13 teraflops. I'm watching their chat. Look at this. Look at their chat. Everybody's saying GTA 6. GTA 6, GTA 6. Come on. Corona 5. My cat's just chilling on the bed over here. She's adorable. Hi, Emma. Hi, baby. What are you doing? Aw, did you just paw me? She's like, paw. I'm gonna open a new tab, bring it over to this screen. What? Because I'm gonna open the Book of Faces really quick. Heck yeah. Why am I not subscribed to PlayStation? Let's do that. Let's turn on all notifications too. So I didn't get that. Look at this. Look how crazy. Look at these comments down below here. YouTube, PS5 video begins in 80 minutes. Me. Googling how to spend time faster. Coronavirus shows up on stage. People in the audience. You're breathtaking. I shouldn't have said that out loud because you could get your video taken down by saying that, but quite honestly, like, I don't care. It's a real thing, YouTube. You should let people talk about it. It's a trending topic. PlayStation 5 will be full of that. Resistant audience cheers. Wallet, what did it cost? Me, everything. In my school allowance, holiday gift money, my family's trust in my grades. Oh no! I'm sorry. Fart Lord. Dude, I love reading the reactions. What time does it start? It says it starts in 9 minutes. Oh, we have time to read some comments down here. Xbox, presenting to you the most powerful console. PS, hold my beer. PC, hold my everything. You gotta admit, some of these are super funny. Government, you need to spend most of your time inside your home because of a virus. PS5, yes. Wow. Okay, that's funny. These comments are great. By the way, everybody, we're just reading the comments. The pre-made comments for the PS5 so far. Literally, all of these comments are hilarious. The long and winding road that leads to your door will never disappear. I've seen that road before. It always leads me here, lead me to PS5. Is that a song? I swear, if that's a song. Hey Walla, let's go buy my name, my king. Yo, these people are funny. I mean, it's not original, but it's actually funny because people do their own spin on things, and you know, really, why do you do this? Thank you. Presenting you all the antivirus for Corona audience. Who? What do we call it? What should we call? Because you can't say it in a video, and I don't know why. YouTube, why are you so sensitive? They're super sensitive. They're like, you can't say it in your videos. Why? Why? It doesn't make sense. Everyone hyped this. No. Third strike. I've been waiting for this. Microsoft. We are revealing everything about Xbox. Oh, yeah, about Series X. Sony. In that case, I'm going to use my final move to. Nice. Plot twist. They only show the console and the loading screen. Oh, God. PS5 exists. Wallet, why do I hear boss music? That's funny. What channels you can, sir? Well, if you want to go watch the PS5 reveal, it's on the PlayStation, but I don't know what you're referring to, Alejandro. But yes, I'm just reading the comments on the PS5 reveal so far. Still 40 minutes to premiere, and it's already 30 waiting to watch. Hope this PS5 can play your CD or DVD from PS1, 2, 3, and 4. Yeah, they said that it'll be able to. Unless I'm wrong, unless they're saying that about Xbox. Me waiting for the for this to air. Blue heart. All the love. Gotta love it, man. PlayStation, greatness awaits. Also, PlayStation unveils PS5 wallpaper. Because, alright, if you don't get it, it's really simple. Because PlayStation 5 wallpaper, see, right here, this is the wallpaper. But it's actually the thumbnail, but still, you know. This is funny. Third strike. I've been waiting for this. Microsoft. We are revealing everything about Series X. Sony. Okay, I read that already. Come on, load more comments. I didn't collect the money. Wait. Okay. It's about to start in like 5 minutes as well, guys. So if to redirect you, it's on the if you want to like do your own live stream or something, if you do stream on YouTube here, it's starting in 4 minutes actually. If you would like to go see it, and it's on the PlayStation, channel right here. So yeah, it's going to be streaming live, and I'm going to be doing a straight up reaction to it. So also, if you're new to the channel here, we don't normally do reactions. What we normally do is we game here, and we play a lot of story-driven games. We're going to be playing Doom Eternal. Wow, that sounded like I got all nasally and went Doom Eternal. When that comes out in 2 days. So if you guys want to, you can come back, subscribe, and watch that. But yeah, we're going crazy right now. Reading these comments to pass the time. Really, PS5 about to get revealed. PS4, my time has come. You know what? People are still going to be playing their PS4 because they don't want to buy a new console. That's just a thing. That's yeah. People are going to be like, "Nah, I'm sticking with my PS4." But when they realize that it's going to have backwards compatibility, then it's going to work. But let's just wait for they're going to want to get it. Just wait for it because we're going to full screen it. We're going to get rid of this chat and it's premiering very soon. So how are you guys doing? Are you guys excited for the reveal as well? Like I'm hyped. I'm very hyped. I think that the PS5 is going to be very powerful, but possibly not as powerful as a PC, obviously, but I did hear it's going to allow for up to 120 frames per second. If I'm wrong, correct me because I don't know. But I think also that a lot of people really want GTA 6. Look at this comment section though. A lot of people are like GTA 6. Oh, someone would Skate 4. How do people read the comments though? If you're a large streamer and if you are watching this, can you please like message me or something and tell me how you read your chat? Even if it's on slow mode, because look at this. This is going bonkers. How? See, there's a GTA 6. I just saw it. PS5. Knack 3. I thought Knack 2 didn't. Knack 2 didn't even come out, though. What? That's so weird. Now, but we're going to be reacting to this live in literally 60 seconds. I can't wait, guys. It's going to be a great time. Premiere will begin shortly. Who's ready? Dude, they already have 311, almost 312,000. That's crazy. They have a lot of people. When it comes on, I'm going to be quiet, but I'm going to also react, you know, because I want to. And if my face cam is in the way, I'll just move it down to the bottom right or something. Come on, Premiere. Hurry up. We have 1 minute. That's why it's not premiering. We have 1 minute. 1 minute. Well, less than 1 minute now. I think here we go. I think. And now. Nope. That didn't work. Let's see it. Come on. There we go. Oh, now we gotta wait 2 minutes now. This is a little loud for my ears. Are y'all ready for this though? Woo! PS5 reveal, even though I'm building a PC as we speak, but gotta drink my coffee. Live reaction, baby. This isn't really a reaction channel, guys. It's more of a gaming channel, but if you guys do enjoy this type of stuff, I might do it more. I didn't do it for the Xbox Series X, which I probably should have, but like I am so hyped right now, guys. Oh, this timer, I can't look at it. Giddy. Giddy, come here. Kitty cat, react with me.
Yeah, no, stay. Kitty can't react. Kitty. Kitty react.
Okay, I'll let you go. Oh, I'm ready. I am ready. Ah, come on, 30 seconds. We gotta do this.
You don't want to react to me, Kitty? You don't want to react?
She's being adorable right now. All right. 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10. Okay, that's kind of cool. 2, 1, and here we go. Let me just move my
Hi. Unfortunately, we had to cancel the talk that we had planned for GDC. But we do have some super exciting news about PS5. And who better to bring that to you than the one and only Mark Cerny. Without further ado, over to you, Mark.
Thank you, Jim.
Dude, I almost had a heart attack.
There will be lots of chances later on this year to look at the PlayStation 5 games. Today, I want to talk a bit about our goals for the PlayStation 5 hardware and how they influenced the development of the console. I think you all know I'm a big believer in console generations. Once every 5 or 6 or 7 years, a console arrives with substantially new capabilities. There's a lot of learning by the game developers, hopefully not too overwhelming, and soon there's games that could never have been created before. Now, it used to be that as a console designer, you'd somehow intuit what would be the best set of capabilities for the new console, and then build it in complete secrecy. For the PlayStation consoles, that period lasted through PlayStation 3, a powerful and groundbreaking console, but also one that caused quite a lot of heartache, as it was initially difficult to develop games for. So, starting with PlayStation 4, we've taken a different approach, roughly centered around 3 principles. The first of these is listening to the developers, which is to say that a lot of what we put into a console derives directly from the needs and aspirations of the game creators. We definitely do have some ideas of our own, but at the core of our philosophy for designing consoles is that game players are here for the fantastic games, which is to say that game creators matter. Anything we can do to make life easier for the game creators or help them realize their dreams, we will do. So, about once every 2 years, I take a tour of the industry. I go to the various developers and publishers, sit down, and discuss how they're doing with the current consoles and what they'd like to see in future consoles. This requires weeks on the road, as reaching the bulk of the game creators involves talking to well over 100 people at something like 24 publishers and developers. And it is incredibly valuable. By the way, the feature most requested by the developers, that was an SSD, which we were very happy to put in the hardware, but a lot of problem solving was required. I'll be doing a deep dive on the SSD and surrounding systems later on in this talk. It's also key to make a generational leap while keeping the console sufficiently familiar to game developers. I think about this in terms of balancing evolution and revolution. Now, with PlayStation 1, 2, and 3, the target was a revolution each time with a brand new feature set. That was great in many ways, but time for the developers to get up and running got longer with each console.
This guy should be ASMR.
I've called this time to triangle. Here's what I had for those 3 consoles. To be clear, I'm not talking about time to make a game. Developers will be ambitious, and it may take them 6 years or so to realize their vision. What I'm talking about is that dead time before graphics and other aspects of game development are up and running, and trying to minimize that. On the other hand, if we're trying to reduce that dead time to 0, that means the hardware architecture can't change at all. We're handcuffed. We need to judge for each feature what value it adds and whether it's worth the increase in developer time needed to support it. So with PlayStation 4, we were able to strike a pretty good balance between performance and familiarity. We got required learning back to PlayStation 1 levels. With PS5, the GPU was definitely the area we felt the most tension between adding new features and keeping a familiar programming model. Ultimately, I think we've ended up with something under a month of getting up to speed. That feels like we're striking about the right balance. I'll go into a bit more detail later today about our philosophy with the GPU and the specific feature set that resulted from it.
I want to say, like,
it's also very important for us
thing.
as the hardware team to find new dreams, by which I mean something other than CPU performance, GPU performance, and the amount of RAM. The increase in graphics performance over the past 2 decades has been astonishing, but there are other areas in which we can innovate and provide significant value to the game creators, and through them, the players. That's why the SSD was very much on our list of directions to explore, regardless of what came out of the conversations with game developers and publishers. The biggest feature in this category is the custom engine for audio. That's today's final topic. The push for vastly improved audio, and in particular 3D audio, isn't something that came out of the developer meetings. It's much more the case that we had a dream of what might be possible 5 years from now, and then worked out a number of steps we could take to set us on that path. So here again are the 3 principles, the first being enabling the desires of developers to drive the hardware design. To me, the SSD really is the key to the next generation. It's a game changer, and it was the #1 ask from developers for PlayStation 5, as in, we know it's probably impossible, but can you put an SSD in it? That was a discussion we were also having internally. It was clear that the presence of a hard drive in every PlayStation 4 was having a positive impact. A lot of things that would simply have been impossible at Blu-ray disc speeds were now possible. At the same time, though, in 2015 and 2016, when we were having these conversations, developers were already banging up against the limits of the hard drive, and a lot of developer time was being spent designing around slow load speeds. I want to focus in on just one number here, which is how long it takes to load a gigabyte of data from a hard drive. The difficulty being that hard drives are neither particularly fast nor flexible. If all your data is in one block, which is frankly not very likely, you can load 50 to 100 megabytes a second, depending on where the data is located on the hard drive. Let's assume it's on the outer edge, which means loading a gigabyte takes 10 seconds. If you compress your game packages, you can fit more data on the Blu-ray disc, and
I like how he's explaining this.
Boost your hard drive read speed by the compression ratio. We support zlib decompression on PlayStation 4 that gets you something like 50% more data on the disc and 50% higher effective read speed. Unfortunately, though, it's highly likely that your data is scattered around in various files on the hard drive, as well as sourced from multiple locations within those files. So lots of seeks are needed at 2 to 50-ish milliseconds each. My rule of thumb is that the hard drive is spending 2/3 of its time seeking and only 1/3 of its time actually loading data. Putting all of that together, a gigabyte is very roughly 20 seconds to load from a hard drive. Now, a gigabyte is not much data. Games are using 5 or 6 gigabytes of RAM on PlayStation 4, so boot times and load times can get pretty grim. Or to put that differently, as a player, you wait for the game to boot, wait for the game to load, wait for the level to reload every time you die, and you wait for what is euphemistically called fast travel. And all of that leads to the dream. What if we could have not just an SSD, but a blindingly fast SSD? If we could load 5 gigabytes a second from it, what would change? Now, SSDs are completely different from hard drives. They don't have seeks as such. If you have a 5 gigabyte a second SSD, you can read data from 1,000 different locations in that second, pretty much at speed. As for time to load a gigabyte, this is next gen we're talking about. So
this is educational.
Instead, we should be asking
how long to load
2 gigabytes. And the answer is about 1/4 of a second. I mean, that's amazing. We're talking 2 orders of magnitude, meaning very roughly 100 times faster.
That is very fast.
5 gigabytes a second for the SSD. The potential is that the game boots in a second. There are no load screens. The game just fades down while loading a half dozen gigabytes and fades back up again. Same for a reload. You're immediately back in the action after you die. And fast travel becomes so fast it's blink and you miss it. As game creators, we go from trying to distract the player from how long fast travel is taking, like those Spider-Man subway rides, to being so blindingly fast that we might even have to slow that transition down.
Duh.
Pretty cool, right? But for me, this is not
Hey, Aaron,
the
what's up,
primary
buddy?
reason to change from a hard drive to an SSD. The primary reason for an ultra-fast SSD is that it gives the game designer freedom. Or to put that differently, with a hard drive, the 20 seconds that it takes to load a gigabyte can sabotage the game that the developer is trying to create. I think almost
This is
all
very
of us in the
true.
room have experienced this, maybe in different ways. Say we're making an adventure game and we have two rich environments where we each want enough textures and models to fill memory, which you can do as long as you have a long staircase,
It'll minimize
or
glitches,
elevator
too.
ride, or a windy corridor where you can ditch the old assets and then take 30 seconds or so to load the new assets. Having a 30-second elevator ride is a little extreme.
know, Aaron.
More realistically,
It's okay, buddy.
we'd probably chop the world into a number of smaller pieces and then do some calculations with sight lines and run speeds like we did for Haven City when we were making Jak 2. The game is 20 years old, but not much has changed since then. All those twisty passages are there for a reason. There's a whole subset of level design dedicated to this sort of work, but still, it's a giant distraction for a team that just wants to make their game. So when I talked about the dream of an SSD, part of the reason for that 5 gigabyte a second target was to eliminate loads, but also part of the reason for that target was streaming. As in, what if the SSD is so fast that as the player is turning around, it's possible to load textures for everything behind the player in that split second. If you figure that it takes half a second to turn, that's 4 gigabytes of compressed data.
Okay,
you can
that's kinda
load.
cool.
That sounds about right for next gen. Anyway,
That
back
should
to the
be
hard
right.
drive. Another strategy for increasing effective read speed is to make big sequential chunks of data. For example, we might group all the data together for each city block. That removes most of the seeks, and the streaming gets faster. But there's a downside too, which is that frequently used data is included in many chunks and therefore is on the hard drive many, many times. Marvel's Spider-Man uses this strategy, and though it works very well for increasing the streaming speed, there's a massive duplication as a result. Some of the objects like mailboxes or news racks are on the hard drive 400 times.
Dang.
What I'm describing
didn't
here
know
are
that.
things that cramp a creative director's style. Either level design gets a little bit boring in places, or the data is duplicated so many times that it no longer fits on the Blu-ray disc. And you end up with hard limits on the player's run speed or driving speed. The player can't go faster than the load speed from the hard drive. And finally, I'm sure
That
many of you
sucks.
have noticed that after a patch download, the PlayStation 4 will sometimes take a long time to install the patch. That's because when just part of a file has been changed, the new data can be downloaded pretty quickly. But before the game boots up, a brand new file
Sorry
has to
about
be
that.
constructed that includes the changed portion. Otherwise, every change would add a seek or two. Even so, you can occasionally see this happening on game titles. They start to hitch once they get patched enough. With an SSD, though, no seeks, so no need to make brand new files with the changes incorporated into them, which means no installs as you know them today. There's yet one more benefit, which is that system memory can be used much more efficiently. On PlayStation 4, game data on the hard drive feels very
I can see
distant
people
and
in the chat
difficult
being
to
like,
use.
"Get to it already!"
By the time you realize you need a piece of data, it's much too late to go out
This
and
stuff
load
is
it.
interesting
So
to
system
me.
memory has to contain all of the data that could be used in the next 30 seconds or so of gameplay. That means a lot of the 8 gigabytes of system memory is idle. It's just waiting there to be
Oh, the stream is from the PlayStation thing. I'll show you.
PlayStation 5, though, the
really
SSD
quick,
is very close to being like more RAM.
the PlayStation
Typically,
channel,
it's
if you
fast
want to
enough
go
that when
to
you
it.
realize
I
you
should
need
link
a
it
piece of
too.
data,
I
you can
really
just
should.
load it from the SSD and use it. There's
Give me a
no
sec.
need to have lots of data parked in system memory waiting to potentially be used. A different way of saying that is that most of RAM is working on the game's behalf. This is one of the reasons that 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 feels right for PlayStation 5. The presence of the SSD reduces the need for a massive intergenerational increase in size. So back to the dream of the SSD. Here's the set of targets. Boot the game in a second. No load screens. Design freedom, meaning no twisty passages or long corridors. More game on the disk and more game on the SSD. And finally, those patch installs go away.
There you go, Perza.
The reality, though, is that the SSD is just one piece of the puzzle. There's a lot of places where bottlenecks can occur in between the SSD and the game code that uses the data. You can see this on PlayStation 4. If I use an SSD with 10 times the speed of a standard hard drive, I probably see only double the loading speed, if that. For PlayStation 5, our goal was not just that the SSD itself be 100 times faster, it was that game loads and streaming would be 100 times faster. So every single potential bottleneck needed to be addressed. And there are a lot of them. Let's look at check-in and what happens when its overhead gets 100 times larger. Conceptually, check-in is a pretty simple process. Data is loaded into system memory from the hard drive or SSD. It's examined, a few values are tweaked to check it in, and then it's moved to its final location. At the SSD speeds we're talking about, that last part, moving the data, meaning copying it from one location to another, takes roughly an entire next-gen CPU core. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. If all the overheads get 100 times larger, that will cripple the frame rate as soon as the player moves, and that massive stream of data starts coming off the SSD. So to solve all of that, we built a lot of custom hardware, namely a custom flash controller and a number of custom units in our main chip.
That's cool.
The flash controller in the SSD was designed for smooth and bottleneck-free operation, but also with games in mind. For example, there are 6 levels of priority when reading from the SSD. Priority is very important. You can imagine the player heading into some new location in the world and the game requesting a few gigabytes of textures. And while those textures are being loaded, an enemy is shot and has to speak a few dying words. Having multiple priority levels lets the audio for those dying words get loaded immediately. On one side, that flash controller connects to the actual flash dies that supply the storage. To reach our bandwidth target of 5 gigabytes a second, we ended up with a 12-channel interface. 8 channels wouldn't be enough. The resulting bandwidth we've achieved is actually 5.5 gigabytes a second. With a 12-channel interface, the most natural size that emerges for an SSD is 825 gigabytes. The key question for us
they're giving developers a lot of freedom.
Is that enough? I mean, it's tempting to add more, but Flash certainly doesn't come cheap, and we have a responsibility to our gaming audience to be cost-effective with regards to what we put in the console. Ultimately, we resolved this question by looking at the play patterns of a broad range of gamers. We examined the specific games that they were playing over the course of a weekend or a week or a month, and whether that set of games would fit properly on the SSD. We were able to establish that the friction caused by reinstalls or re-downloads would be quite low, and so we locked in on that 825 gigabytes.
Are you guys getting sleepy from this guy too?
Preparing multiple
His voice is just
strategies so
super
that
relaxing.
those who want more storage can add it. I'll go through the details in a
So
moment.
relaxed, man.
Back to the flash controller. On the other side, it connects to our main custom chip via 4 lanes of Gen 4 PCIe. And inside the main custom chip is a pretty hefty unit dedicated to I/O. Before we talk about what that does, let's talk compression for a moment. PlayStation 4 used zlib as its compression format. We decided to use it again on PlayStation 5, but on my 2017 tour of developers, I learned about a new format called Kraken from Rad Game Tools. It's like zlib's smarter cousin. Simple, similar types of algorithms, but about 10% better compression, which is pretty big. That means 10% more game on the UHD Blu-ray disc or on the SSD. Kraken had only been out for a year, but it was already becoming a de facto industry standard. Half of the teams I talked to were either using it or getting ready to evaluate it. So we hustled and built a custom decompressor into the I/O unit, one capable of handling over 5 gigabytes of Kraken format input data a second. After decompression, that typically becomes 8 or 9 gigabytes, but the unit itself is capable of outputting as much as 22 gigabytes a second.
Are they calling it the Kraken, though?
Particularly well. By the way, in terms of performance, that custom decompressor equates to 9 of our Zen 2 cores. That's what it would take to decompress the Kraken stream with a conventional CPU. There's a lot more in the custom I/O unit, including a dedicated DMA controller. The game can direct exactly where it wants to send the data coming off of the SSD. This equates to another Zen 2 core or 2 in terms of its copy performance. Its primary purpose is to remove check-in as a bottleneck. There's 2 dedicated I/O coprocessors and a large RAM pool. These aren't Zen 2 cores. They're there principally to direct the variety of custom hardware around them. One of the coprocessors is dedicated to SSD I/O. This lets us bypass traditional file I/O and its bottlenecks when reading from the SSD. The other is responsible for memory mapping, which I know doesn't sound like anything related to the SSD, but a lot of developers map and remap memory as part of file I/O, and this too can become a bottleneck. There are coherency engines to assist the coprocessors. Coherency comes up a lot in places. Probably the biggest coherency issue is stale data in the GPU caches. Flushing all of the GPU caches whenever the SSD is read is an unattractive option. It could really hurt the GPU performance. So we've implemented a gentler way of doing things, where the coherency engines inform the GPU of the overwritten address ranges, and custom scrubbers in several dozen GPU caches do pinpoint evictions of just those address ranges.
That is really
The
smart.
thing is, as a game developer, when you read from the SSD, you don't need to know any of this. You don't even need to know that your data is compressed. You just indicate what data you'd like to read from your original uncompressed file and where you'd like to put it, and the whole process of loading it happens invisibly to you and at very high speed. Back to the dream. Thanks to all of that surrounding hardware, our 5.5 gigabytes a second really should translate into something like 100 times faster I/O than PS4 and allow the dream of no load screens and super fast streaming to become a reality.
I mean, I don't really
Having
mind
said
load
that,
screens.
Expandability of our SSD is going to be quite important. Flash is costly, and you may very well want to add storage to whatever we put in the console. Now, the kind of storage you need depends on how you're going to use it. If you have an extensive PlayStation 4 library and you'd like to take advantage of backwards compatibility to play those games on PlayStation 5, then a large external hard drive is ideal. You can leave your games on the hard drive and play them directly from there, thus saving the pricier SSD storage for your PlayStation 5 titles, or you can copy your active PlayStation 4 titles to the SSD. If your purpose in adding more storage is to play PlayStation 5 titles, though, ideally you would add to your SSD storage. We will be supporting certain M2 SSDs. These are internal drives that you can get on the open market and install in a bay in the PlayStation 5. As for which ones we support and when, I'll get to that in a moment. They connect through the custom I/O unit just like our SSD does. So they can take full advantage of the decompression, I/O coprocessors, and all the other features I was talking about. Here's the catch, though. That commercial drive has to be at least as fast as ours. Games that rely on the speed of our SSD need to work flawlessly with any M2 drive. When I gave the Wired interview last year, I said that the PlayStation 5 SSD was faster than anything available on PC. At the time, commercial M2 drives used PCIe 3.0, and 4 lanes of that cap out at 3.5 gigabytes a second. In other words, no PCIe 3.0 drive can hit the required spec. M2 drives with PCIe 4.0 are now out in the market. We're getting samples and seeing 4 or 5 gigabytes a second from them. By year's end, I expect there will be drives that saturate 4.0 and support 7 gigabytes a second. Having said that, we are comparing apples and oranges, though, because that commercial M2 drive will have its own architecture, its own flash controller, and so on.
An NVMe
For example,
M.2.
the NVMe specification lays out a priority scheme for requests that the M2 drives can use. And that scheme is pretty nice, but it only has 2 true priority levels. Our drives support 6. We can hook up a drive with only 2 priority levels, definitely, but our custom I/O unit has to arbitrate the extra priorities rather than the M2 drive's flash controller.
So
and
this
so the
might
M2 drive
explain
needs
the
a
price
little
point.
extra speed to take care of issues arising from the different approach. That commercial drive also needs to physically fit inside of the bay we created in PlayStation 5 for M2 drives.
I thought that at first,
internal hard drives.
but then I saw a dude like that was in this corner. He's moving.
Drives have giant heat sinks. In fact, some of them
They
even
look
have
fake,
their own
but
fans.
watch this dude
Now
right there
we're getting
moves.
M2 drive
funny.
samples and benchmarking them in various ways. When games
Unless
hit
they are
beta,
fake.
as they get ready for
You
the
may be right.
PlayStation 5 launch at year-end, we'll also be doing some compatibility testing to make sure that the architecture of particular M2 drives isn't too
But I don't
foreign
think
for the
that that's
games
an
to handle.
audience per se. I
Once we've
think
done
that's
that compatibility testing, we should be able to start letting you know which drives will physically fit.
think that's the
and
media.
which drive samples have
Journalists.
benchmarked appropriately high in our testing. It would be great if that happened by launch, but it's likely to be a bit past it. So please hold off on getting that M2 drive until you hear from us. Okay, back to our principles. Balancing evolution and revolution is the second of them. This was definitely a recurring theme with the GPU. We need new GPU features and capabilities. If we only have more performance, it's not really a new generation of console. Of course, many of these capabilities result in more performance. That's part of why a PlayStation 5 teraflop is more powerful than a PlayStation 4 teraflop. But we aren't just looking for the performance. We also need the ability to do something with the GPU that could...
Why'd you change your channel name, bro?
And we need higher performance per watt. Every time we double the performance of some GPU component, we don't want to find out we've doubled the power consumed and
Oh
the heat
shoot, I
produced.
should have put the chat box
But
up.
at the same time, we have to make sure the GPU can run PS4 games, and we have to ensure that the architecture is easy for the developers to adopt. Now, backwards compatibility was handled masterfully by AMD. They treated it as
You can see if
key
it's a
need
green
throughout
screen
the
too,
design
if his
process.
hand is moving.
As our solution to adding new features without blindsiding developers, we made sure that if there were new significant features, it would be optional to use them. The GPU supports
I still think those are
ray tracing, but
journalists.
you don't have to use ray tracing to make your game.
You're right about
the
them being in
GPU
the
supports
same
primitive
position.
shaders, but you can release your first game on PlayStation 5 without making any use of them. Before I get into the capabilities of the GPU, I'd like to make clear 2 points that can be quite confusing. First, we have a custom AMD GPU based on their RDNA 2 technology. What does that mean? AMD is continuously improving and revising their tech. For RDNA 2, their goals were, roughly speaking, to reduce power consumption by re-architecting the GPU to put data close to where it's needed, to optimize the GPU for performance, and to add a new, more advanced feature set. But that feature set is malleable, which is to say that we have our own needs for PlayStation, and that can factor into what the AMD roadmap becomes.
Yeah,
Collaboration.
I'm waiting for the PS5 reveal.
Concepts to AMD that are felt to be.
I mean, it's totally educational, but like,
RDNA 2 and used broadly.
I want to see
PC
the
GPUs.
PS5. To be
If
honest.
the ideas are sufficiently specific to what we're trying to accomplish, like the GPU cache scrubbers I was talking about, then they end up being
Most little kids who are
us.
excited about it have
If
clicked
you
off
see
of the
a
video
similar
already.
discrete GPU available as a PC card
Let's
at
check
roughly
the
same time
views.
as we
Maybe
release our
they
console,
increase.
That means our collaboration with AMD
Oh yeah,
succeeded.
it increased.
In producing technology
Holy
useful
crap, dude! Look
in
at
both
this.
worlds. It doesn't mean that we as Sony simply incorporated the PC
Look at that
card
chat.
into our console. This continuous improvement in AMD
wild,
technology
dude.
means it's dangerous to rely on teraflops as an absolute indicator of
Plot twist: they never showed the PS5.
CPU
I will
count
be.
should be avoided as well. In the case of CPUs, we all understand this. The PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 each have 8 CPUs, but we never think that meant the capabilities and performance are equal. It's the same for CUs. For one thing, they've been getting much larger over time. Adding new features means adding lots of transistors. In fact, the transistor count.
Bro, most people don't even know what you're talking about.
Is 62%
That's a
larger
thing.
than the transistor count
But,
for a PlayStation
like-
4 CU. Second, the PlayStation 5
I don't even know what a
GPU
flop or a CU is,
backwards
to be honest.
compatible with PlayStation 4. What does that mean? One way you can achieve backwards compatibility is to put the previous console's chipset in the new console, like we did with some PlayStation 3s. But that's, of course, extremely expensive. A better way is to
Yeah, that's
incorporate
true.
any differences in the previous console's logic
That's
into
true.
the new console's
true,
custom
Josh.
chips, meaning that even as the technology evolves, the logic and feature set that PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 4 Pro titles rely on is still available in backwards compatibility.
They're probably gonna have a
One
PlayStation 5
advantage of
Pro.
this strategy is that once
that
backwards
weird to say?
compatibility is in the console, it's in. It's not as if a cost down will remove backwards compatibility like it did on PlayStation 3. Achieving this unification of functionality took years of efforts by AMD.
I'm not
As
bored.
any
This guy's voice is
advancement
just super
creates a
relaxing.
potential
It's making
divergence
me
in
yawn.
logic. Running PS4 and PS4 titles at boosted frequencies has also added complexity. The boost is truly massive this time around, and some game code just can't handle it. Testing has to be done on a title-by-title basis. Results are excellent, though. We recently took a look at the top 100 PlayStation 4 titles as ranked by playtime, and we're expecting almost
Happy,
all
listen,
to be
today they don't
playable
show
at
us
launch on PlayStation 5.
PS5. What?
With regards
Why
to
wouldn't they show us the PS5?
Our strategy was to try to break new ground, but at the same time not to require use of the new GPU capabilities.
I want to see
For more
it.
than a decade, GPUs
Show
have
me it.
imposed a restriction on game
Sorry.
engines. Software handles vertex processing.
I think we're all getting impatient.
Dedicated
Hold up, let
hardware
me
is
see
responsible
the
for
chat.
triangles and other geometry that the vertices form.
The thing does say road to PS5.
Possible to do even
Look at this.
basic
You know,
optimizations, such as
that could
vertex if
that
all
could be true.
geometry that uses it is off screen.
Look at
PlayStation 5 has a new unit called
Look at
the
everybody.
Geometry Engine, which brings handling of triangles and
Hold up, everybody.
under
Whoa.
full programmatic control.
Hello.
As a game developer, you're free to ignore its existence and use the PlayStation 5 GPU.
Look at this chat,
now
dude.
More capable than the PS4
Oh my
GPU.
gosh.
Or
Let's see what
you can use
any
this
new comments.
intelligence in various ways. Simple usage could be performance optimization, such
No
as
new comments,
removing
but
backfaced or off-screen.
everybody's
vertices and
like
triangles.
falling asleep to this
More
dude. Look at
complex
this.
usage involves something called primitive shaders, which allow the game
This stuff does interest me, but like
geometry on the fly
it's
as
getting
being
too
rendered.
much now.
It's a brand new
You're
capability.
talking about
Using primitive shaders on PlayStation
way too much
5
stuff. We
will
want
allow
to see
for
it.
a broad variety of techniques, including smoothly varying level of detail.
Shut up already and show us the. Did you see that comment? Hold up.
Particle effects and
Shut
other
up already and
visual
show us the console.
Another
Oh,
major
my
use
chat's in the
of our
way.
Custom
Hold up.
RDNA 2-based GPU
gonna have to move
is
that so
ray
you guys
tracing,
can
using
see.
the same strategy as AMD's upcoming PC GPUs.
Told you so. They say. Zzz.
A new specialized unit called the intersection engine, which can calculate the intersection of rays with boxes and triangles.
I get some of it.
Intersection engine
I mean,
lets
I'm
you
building
build
a
what is
PC
called an
myself.
acceleration structure. It's data in RAM that contains all of your geometry. There's a specific
Like
set of
nobody wants to know this.
variations on the same.
You're talking to the developers,
Then,
not
in your shader
us.
program, you use a new
We
instruction that asks the intersection
are
engine to check array.
This is the
BB.
wrong type of reveal.
While
This is the wrong type
intersection
of
engine
thing.
is processing the requested
What?
triangle.
I feel like I'm sitting in a
intersection,
college
the
class right
shaders
now.
are free to do other work. Having said that, the ray tracing
let's-
instruction is pretty memory intensive,
just-
so it's
let's
a
let the
mix
chat roll.
with logic-heavy code.
So PS5 is
There's,
now
of course,
a
no need to
PC.
use ray tracing.
Pretty
PS4
much, it's
graphics
always
engines
been a
run just
PC.
fine on PlayStation 5. But it
Audio,
presents
global
an
illumination,
opportunity
shadows,
for
reflections. We're talking about full
It'll
ray
take less
tracing.
than a
Okay,
million rays
but
a
PC
second to
has
have
that
a
already.
big
Come on,
impact
dude.
Audio. That should be enough for audio occlusion and some reverb calculations. With a bit more of
Mark
the
shows
GPU
us the
invested in
capacities
ray
of
tracing,
PS5.
It should be possible
Yeah.
to do some very nice.
I don't get anything
global
what this guy is
illumination.
saying. It's
Having said
too
that,
much and
adding ray traced shadows and
confusing-ish.
reflections to a traditional graphics engine could easily take hundreds of millions of rays a second, and full ray tracing could take billions.
nobody's
How far can we
like,
go? I'm starting to get quite bullish. I've already seen a
Come
PlayStation
on.
5 title that's successfully using ray tracing based reflections in complex animated scenes with only modest.
I'm sorry, guys. I'm getting a little
Another set of
impatient now. I'm
issues for
like,
the
come
GPU
on, bro.
Involved size and frequency. How big do we make the GPU, and what frequency do we run it at? This is a balance.
Should I comment?
The chip has a cost, and there's a cost for whatever
I'm
we
gonna do
use
it.
to supply that chip with power and to cool it. In general, I like running the GPU at higher frequency. Let me show you why.
I had to do it.
Here's two possible configurations for a GPU roughly of the level of the PlayStation 4 Pro. This is a thought experiment. Don't take these configurations too seriously. If you just calculate teraflops, you get the same number. But actually, the performance is noticeably different.
Is this like a
because
press
teraflops
conference?
is defined as the computational capability of the vector ALU. That's just one part of the GPU. There are a lot of other units.
I mean,
Those other units all run
holy
faster when
crap,
the
if he
GPU
memorized
frequency is
everything,
higher.
this guy's smart.
At 33% higher frequency, rasterization goes 33%.
Yo, mama!
faster. Processing the command buffer goes that
What?
much faster. The L2 and other caches have
I'm
more
sorry.
bandwidth and so on.
I'm sorry, but that was funny.
Downside is that system memory is 33% further away in terms of cycles. But the large number of benefits more than
Oh, I'm sorry, Peter.
as a friend of mine says, a rising tide lifts all boats. Also, it's easier to fully use 36 CUs in parallel than it is to fully use.
Remember, guys, hit the sub button if you
Triangles are
enjoy
small,
this
it's
content.
much harder to fill all those CUs
riveting
with useful
content.
work. So
This
there's a lot to
reaction.
be said for faster.
I was wondering if there was a way I could just
Power
skip.
and heat issues,
But
which
this is a live
frankly,
stream,
we haven't
so
always done.
We're
the
streaming
best
a
job.
live stream.
Part of the
live.
reason for that is, historically, our process for setting
Is
CPU
this-
and GPU frequencies has relied on some heavy-duty...
One thing I want to know is if the audience isn't real,
consume, and
this
how much
might
CPU
have
we
been
produced as result
a
inside of
a
the console.
pre-done video
Power consumption varies
with
a lot from game to
with the
game.
press there,
When I
with
played
them
God of War on the
signing
PS4 Pro, I know the power consumption is
slips and
high
whatnot.
just by the fan noise. But power isn't simply about engine quality. It's about the minutia of what's being displayed and how. It's counterintuitive, but processing dense geometry typically consumes less power.
I
than
didn't even
processing
know that
simple
there was
geometry,
audio.
which is, I suspect,
There was
why
ray tracing for
Horizon's
audio.
map screen with its low triangle count makes my PS4 Pro heat up so much. Our
So the
process
thing is that he's saying console powerful.
maximum
Th-
power
that's
consumption
basically what
during
he's
the
saying.
entire
The
console
console
lifetime might be, which is to say,
is going to
the
be
worst case
significantly
scene
more
in the
powerful
worst
than the
case game,
PS4, and it's
and
going to be
prepare
able
a
to
cooling
run
solution that we think
games.
will be
And
quiet
the
at
long
that
load
power.
screen that basically
If we get it
GTA
right,
5
fan
has
noise is minimal.
will
If we
be
get it wrong,
non-existent
the
in a
console will be
PS5.
Quite loud for the higher power games.
That's
There's
what he's
even a
saying.
chance that it might overheat and shut down if we misestimate
But
power too badly.
there was a rumor going around saying that
PlayStation
like the
5 is
PlayStation
especially
5 is
challenging because the
also
CPU supports
gonna be like a,
256-bit native instructions
a
that
bomb
consume
with
a
the
lot of power.
GPU in it. I'm
These
like,
are great here and there, but presumably
how can
only
you
minimally
make
used.
something so
Or
compact?
are
So a
they? If we
GPU is
plan
basically
for
your
major
graphics card.
256-bit
But I think they're still going to use
we need to set the
APUs.
CPU clock
I don't know how you could
substantially lower or
fit a
noticeably
GPU that
increase the
could
size of the
overheat
power
in
supply
such a
and fan.
confined space.
So, after much discussion, we decided to go with a very different direction on PlayStation 5. We built a GPU with 36 CUs. Mind you, RDNA 2 CUs.
Oh, so it's going to be like
each has
real life
60% more
audio. So
transistors
if your
than the
character
CUs
shouts
we were
against the
using
wall,
on
it's going to
PlayStation
bounce
4.
back immediately.
So
I see.
if we compare transistor counts, 36 RDNA 2 CUs equates to roughly 58 PlayStation 4 CUs. It is a fairly sizable GPU. Then we went with a variable frequency strategy for PlayStation 5. Which
You
is
know,
to
you
say
might be
we
right, because this guy
continuously
keeps on
run
doing
the
the same
GPU
thing.
and
That guy
CPU
just coughed
in
into his
loose
head.
mode.
He's touching his face.
A
I just
generous
touched my
amount of
face, though.
electrical
So.
power, and then increase
I
the
shouldn't do
frequency
that.
of GPU and CPU.
My
with
hands are clean, though. I keep
the
washing them.
capabilities of the
We're
system's
good.
cooling solution. It's a completely different paradigm. Rather than running at constant frequency and letting power vary based on the workload,
To be honest,
run
Mark
at essentially
Cerny,
constant power
here it is.
and let the frequency vary based on the workload. We then tackled the engineering challenge of a cost-effective and high-performance cooling solution designed for that specific power level. In some ways, it becomes a simpler problem because there are no more unknowns. There's no need to guess what power consumption the worst-case game might have. As for the details,
Is this guy trying to sell his console, or is he like,
I think you'll be
is he
quite
good?
happy with what
Is
the
he not
engineering
trying
team
to?
came up with.
Look at everybody. Kratos,
How
your
fast
end.
can we run the GPU and CPU with this?
I wonder if they're
strategy?
going to make another God of
The
War.
simplest approach would be to look at the actual temperature of the silicon die and throttle the frequency on that basis. But that won't work. It fails to create a consistent PlayStation 5 experience. It wouldn't do to run a console slower simply because it was in a hot room. So rather than look at the actual temperature of the silicon
Dude,
die,
there is no toilet paper
that the GPU
anywhere
and CPU
right
are
now.
performing, and set the frequencies on that
It is
basis, which
wild,
makes
dude.
everything
I have to
deterministic
use like a
and
washcloth or something.
While we're at it, we also use AMD's Smart Shift technology and send any unused power from the CPU to the GPU so we can squeeze
Asheville.
out a few more pixels.
My mom has
Benefits of
73
this strategy
teraflops.
are quite large.
Well,
Running a GPU at 2
if she could run
gigahertz
video
was looking
games,
like an unreachable target with the old fixed frequency strategy.
she powerful.
With this new paradigm, we're able to run way over that. In fact, we have to cap the GPU frequency at
Look at everybody
2.23
getting
gigahertz
really tired
so that we can
in the
guarantee
comments.
that the on-chip logic operates properly. 36 CUs at 2.23 gigahertz is 10.3 terabytes.
Yeah.
And we expect
Yeah, I
the GPU
figured.
to spend most of its time at or close to that frequency and performance. Similarly, running the CPU at 3 gigahertz was causing headaches.
I was interested at first, but like this
now
whole
we can
live
run it
stream
as
is
high
like
as
30.
3.5 gigahertz.
Look,
In
we've
fact,
been
it
here
spends
for
most of its
38
time at that
minutes.
frequency. That doesn't mean
And it feels like we're sitting through an educational program
5 gigahertz. When that worst
for
case game arrives,
a college course. Most people don't care. Most people do not
It
care.
only takes a couple of % reduction
They
in
do
frequency,
not
so I'd
care.
expect
They
any
want to see the
downclocking to be
console.
pretty minor.
Mark Cerny.
All things considered, the
Come on,
change to
bro.
a variable frequency approach will show significant gains for PlayStation gamers. The final of our 3 principles was about finding new dreams. It's
Right? Some
important
demo
for
would
us
be
on the
great.
hardware
That's-
team to find new
And
ways
Shaw,
to
I
expand
totally
or deepen
agree.
gaming, and that's what led us to a focus on 3D audio. As players, we experience the game through the visuals, through audio, and through the feedback we receive from
Wonder
the
what's more
control, such as
popular,
rumble
toilet paper or
haptics.
alcohol spray?
Personally, I feel a game
I
is
didn't
just
even
dead
know.
without audio.
Oh,
Visuals
I
are,
mean, you
of
could make
course,
your own
important,
alcohol
but
spray.
the impact
You
of
could,
audio
like,
is huge
take
as well.
The alcohol.
At the same
put it in a
time, the
bottle.
audio team on a game project has to do a lot
Spray.
with a little. For example, on PlayStation 4,
spray
there's
bottle.
fierce competition for the Jaguar CPU cores. Audio typically ends up getting just a fraction of a core. That's not much of a computational resource, particularly when you consider that the visuals run at 30 or 60 frames a second, but audio processing needs to happen at almost 200 times a second. So it's been tough going making forward progress on audio with PlayStation 4, particularly when PlayStation 3 was such a beast when it came to audio.
Yo, this guy should.
SPUs
If this is a whole
perfect
script,
device for audio rendering. Simple pipelined algoritms could really take advantage
this guy
of
needs to be an
asynchronous
actor
DNA
too.
and frequently
'Cause if he
reach
memorized
100%
all of this
utilization of the floating point
for
meter.
40 minutes.
There's unfortunately nothing comparable on PlayStation 4. Probably the most dramatic progress in the PlayStation 4 generation has been with virtual reality. The PSVR hardware has
Whenever
its own
somebody
hardware.
says virtual
It
reality,
supports
I'm
about
like,
50 pretty decent
come
3D
on.
sound sources. And this provided a hint as to where we could go with audio, as well as some valuable experience. Not to
What are my views?
but here
I
were
find
our
it
goals for
interesting,
audio
but it's
on
getting
PlayStation
a
5.
little bit tedious and
The
boring
first
to
goal
watch.
was great audio for everyone, not just VR users or soundbar owners or headphone users. That meant audio had to be part of the
So
console.
I like how he's explaining,
The
but like
second
this
goal
could
was
have
to
been
support hundreds of
way,
sound sources. We didn't
way
want
shorter
developers to have
and
to
way
pick
more
and choose
compact
what
information
sounds
for
would get
most
3D
people, because
effects
most
and which
people who
wouldn't.
buy
We wanted
consoles
every sound in the
do
game
not
to have
know
dimensionality. And finally,
what
we
he's
wanted
talking
to
about.
really take on
They just want the
challenges
console
of
and they
presence
want to play it.
and locality. Now, when we say presence, we mean the feeling that you're actually there. You've entered the matrix. It's not, of course, something we thought we could perfectly achieve, but the idea was that if we stopped using just a rain sound and instead used lots of 3D audio sources for raindrops hitting the ground at all sorts of locations around you, then at some point your brain would take a
Bro,
leap
he's
and
a-
begin
he's a
to have
robot.
this feeling of real presence inside the
Hey,
virtual
what's up,
world of the
Hassan?
game. This has the capacity to affect your appreciation of the game, just like music in a game does. The concept of locality is simpler. It's just your sense of where the audio is coming from.
Hey,
In front
PlayStation,
of you, behind you,
what are you
above
doing?
This can immerse you
Reveal
further in
it.
the game, and it can also directly enhance the gameplay. To use Dead Space as an example, I know.
It seems
old
like they're
school.
thinking of the
You're
PS6
fighting
and not the
enemies in
PS5.
fairly dark, spooky
Honestly,
locations.
their next
Back in
gen
the
is
day,
supposed
if
to
you played
be
the game using the
like
TV speakers,
no
you
load
could tell
screens.
that there was one last enemy growling and hunting you down, but it was difficult to tell quite where that enemy was. With headphones, you could tell that the enemy was somewhere on the right, which let you deduce, if you couldn't see it, that it must be somewhere behind and to your right. But with 3D audio with good locality, the idea is you know the enemy is precisely there, and you turn and you take it out.
That's the first time I saw him get
know where sound
enthusiastic.
is coming
He's
from
there,
in the first
and
place.
you turn and you take it out.
All those bumps and folds in the ear
And then he
have
goes back
meaning,
to normal.
evolutionarily speaking. Based on what direction the sound is coming from, sound waves bounce around inside the ear, there's some constructive and destructive interference, and the result is a change in volume. The phase of the sound
This is very boring, bro.
path the sound wave
Most people
took
just
to
want to
reach
see the
ear canal.
PS5.
These volume changes.
Like, I was
are
being quiet for the
phase
first part, but
different for
like
each
now I'm
direction
just
and
talking
also vary
over him.
depending on the frequency of the sound. Head size and head shape also impact the sound in a similar fashion. The way that the sound changes.
Yeah, same here, John.
And
Same here, bro.
Remember,
Remember, if you subscribe, you get a freaking virtual cookie, dude.
Here's part of one. The vertical axis is the frequency. The horizontal axis is the direction, front, back, left, right, and the color gives the degree of attenuation of the sound at that frequency. The HRTF is as unique to an individual as a fingerprint is. In fact, you're looking at mine right now. Here's how we measure an HRTF.
Yeah.
We've taken hundreds of people through this process.
Yeah, dude.
We put a microphone in the subject's left and right ear canals, and then sit the subject down in the middle of an array of 22
By that time,
speakers.
everybody's going to have a
Play
PC.
an audio sweep from each speaker as we rotate the subject. In the course of 10 or 20 minutes, we're able to sample the HRTF at over 1,000 locations. Using an HRTF when rendering audio creates unparalleled quality, but it's computationally expensive.
By the way, John, I
simplest way to
appreciate
use
the
an
compliment.
HRTF is to
How does
process a
life,
sound
man?
source to make it appear as if it's coming from one of those 1,000 locations.
Dude,
Unfortunately, the processing has to be done.
I'm not even arguing. Like, this is interesting to me, but to other people,
for every audio tick, that's a lot multiplies.
I mean, in order to build a PC, you have to know this stuff,
Determining
right?
factor for our strategy.
But
it meant we had to bite the bullet and design and build a custom hardware
dude,
unit for 3D.
you should have revealed this to the
Collectively, we're
developers,
referring to the
not
hardware
us.
unit and the proprietary algorithms we run on it as Tempest 3D Audio Tech. The meaning of 3D audio and technology should be pretty obvious here. As for Tempest, I feel it really reflects our goals with audio. It suggests a certain intensity.
Can I guess the price?
And also hints at your
I think it's going to be around the $500
the
mark.
hardware unit that we built,
to be
the
honest.
Tempest engine. It's based on AMD's GPU technology. We
If I'm going to be
modified the
honest,
unit in such a way
the PlayStation 3 was
very
$600 on
SPUs
release, and the
PlayStation 3.
PlayStation 4
Remember when I
was
said that they were
$400
ideal
on
for
release.
audio? So
If I'm going to be honest,
just like an SPU.
I really do think that the
via
PS5 was going to be
just
around
like an
$500 for a price
Target
point.
was that it would have more
Unless
power
they want to
than
get
a
competitive and
CPU,
make it
thanks to the
$450.
parallelism that a GPU can achieve, and that it would be more efficient than our GPU thanks to the SPU-like
Yeah,
architecture.
most people do want to see the
Goal being
PS5.
to make
And
possible
on top of it, I
100%
got to pee,
utilization
and I don't want to miss the reveal.
vector units. Where we ended up is a unit with roughly the same SIMD power and bandwidth as all 8 Jaguar cores in the PlayStation 4 combined. If we were to use the same algorithms as PSVR, that's enough for something like 5,000 sound sources. But of course, we want to use more complex algorithms, and we don't need
could have had a
anything
lot more
like
views.
that number of sounds.
I don't think you guys can see it, but they have 620,766
using Dolby Atmos
views right now.
could have achieved our goals. But we wanted
Viewers.
3D audio for all, not just those with licensed sound bars or the like. Also, we wanted many hundreds of sound sources.
You're saying 500 for
that
PS5?
Atmos supports. And
Yeah, me
finally,
too.
we
It could be
wanted to
500.
throw an overwhelming amount of processing power at the problem, and it wasn't clear what any peripheral might have inside of it.
By the way, guys, I got merch there if you want to check it out.
We've even got enough power that we can allocate some to the games, to the extent that games want to make use of convolution reverb.
My boy, stop it!
That are either computational
Dude, the chat's
or
hilarious.
need high bandwidth.
Y'all got to see the chat. That's why I have. That's why I don't have a
The
full
Tempest
screen.
engine remains
I'm watching the
3D
chat.
audio.
Yeah.
Now, 3D audio is a major.
Not lying,
academic
you won't
research
miss that
topic.
much.
It's safe to say that no one in the world has all of the
To
answers.
be honest,
And the set of algorithms
I don't know,
that have
man.
to be invented
I really gotta go to the bathroom, though.
realize our vision for 3D audio
I had
is
a
immense.
cup of coffee.
For example, use of HRTFs in games is quite complex. Before, I talked about making a sound source appear as if it's coming from one of those 1,000
Do you think,
HRTF
Poseidon?
sample locations. But for high-quality 3D game audio, we have to handle
from
other
any
possibilities.
stay safe.
The sound source might
From the
not be
pandemic.
at one of
Dude,
the 1,000 HRTF
it's-
sample locations.
it's
so we have
everywhere.
to blend the
I haven't gone out.
data from the closest locations that we have sampled.
And Shell, thank you so much for coming into the stream, dude. Much love to you as well. Remember, if you like this stream, I game mostly, so if you want to watch another stream and not this with me,
it should feel as if it's coming from an
subscribe,
area
hit that
rather
bell
than a single
notification. I appreciate you coming in.
There's also whole categories of approaches to be handled.
$500 would
3D
be
audio can be
along the
implemented
line of
using individual
too much.
processing of 3D sound
said it would-
sources. But
it'd be appealing.
alternatively, ambisonics can be used
Yeah.
for 3D audio.
$500 is a little
Ambisonics
too
do
much,
somewhat
but
like
considering like a
spherical
top of the line
harmonics used
PC,
in
how much they
computer
would cost,
And finally,
one that I'm
there's
building
audio
is like
devices.
1,000.
The player might be using headphones or TV speakers, or
1,200,
have a
I
higher-end
believe.
surround sound
And I got
setup
most
with
of the
6
parts
or
here
more
already.
speakers,
They're
all
off to
of
the
which need
side.
different approaches. That's
My
a lot
ear
of
is so
variations.
itchy,
It's
bro.
nice to have the computational resources of the Tempest engine, but it's clear that achieving our ultimate goals with 3D audio is going to be a multi-year, step-by-step.
Honestly, a lot of the stuff he's talking
Having said
about,
that,
a lot of people
headphone
don't
audio
understand what it
implementation
is.
is
This is
largely
mostly
complete
a
at this
press
time.
conference.
It was a natural place for us to start.
This is
with
basically what a
headphones. We
press
control
conference is
exactly what each
for
ear hears,
the
and therefore
developers.
the algorithmic
They're
development
just showing
and implementation
this
are
to
more
people.
straightforward.
We need to see.
For TV speakers and stereo
More
speakers,
people.
we're in the process of implementing virtual surround sound. The idea being that if you're sitting in a sweet spot in front of the TV,
I came in clutch
then
on
the
BR
sound
last
can be
night,
made
bro.
to feel as if it's coming from any direction,
Shoot,
even
man.
behind you.
Thank you, dude.
Virtual surround sound has a lot in common with 3D
Yo,
audio
what's up, Grim?
but it's more
My brain with
complex
this reveal.
because the left ear can hear the right speaker and vice versa.
Well, typically companies like
Basic
Sony and
implementation of
Microsoft
virtual surround sound
sell
up
at
and
a
running.
loss.
We're now looking at increasing the size of that sweet spot, which is to say, making the area you need to be in to feel the 3D effect larger. And we're also working to boost the sense of locality.
That's true, dude.
Headphone audio is the current gold standard for 3D audio on PlayStation 5, but we're going to see what we can do to bring virtual surround sound to a similar level, after which we'll start in on setups with more speakers, such as 6-channel surround sound. It's now to the point where some of the PlayStation 5 games in development are extensively using these systems. One of the game demos allows you to toggle between conventional PlayStation 4 style stereo audio and our
Bro, do
new
you recommend
3D
Odyssey
audio.
to play
I
or
listened with
EA
just an
access?
ordinary pair of over-the-ear headphones, and wow, I could feel a difference. 3D audio has that.
Are you talking about
dimensional
Assassin's
to it.
Creed Odyssey?
Conventional stereo audio feels smashed flat by comparison. The improvement
JC,
is obvious.
this is
So, a big advancement.
it's boring,
Have I entered?
but it's
the
very
future?
educational. Those who don't know what he's
Really
talking
there.
about have to
Like I
like
was
do their
talking about
studying
earlier
to
when I
understand
explained our target,
what an
the
SSD and an
Well,
NVMe
the
.2
answer
is.
no, but you've probably caught on to what's missing here, namely whose HRTF. was
I think
being
it's pretty
used.
interesting,
It wasn't
but
mine.
this
It
is
was
meant
the
for
default
developers.
HRTF. The audio
Game
team
developers.
analyzed the hundreds that they measured and chose the
As
one
for
that was the closest
Odyssey,
fit to the total game playing audience.
I would probably
This shows a piece of the
get,
default HRTF on the left and my HRTF on the right. You can see
out
that
of
the
those
general
two,
features are much the same.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Details.
I don't know. I played the game. I like
With
it.
the default
There's a lot of
HRTF, As I
content.
said, the 3D audio sounds pretty great.
But the
When I
quarantine
use
could
my
last
HRTF,
about
though,
2
the audio
months
reaches
to
a
3
higher
months.
level of realism.
So I'd
Which is
go
to
for
say
the.
that when using
If
headphones
it lasts
from
that
my HRTF,
much, I would go for.
I occasionally
the
get fooled
bigger
and
one.
even think a sound is coming from the real world when it's actually coming from the game. A corollary.
You're gonna
is
blast
there
some
are
players
few
on
people whose
COD.
HRTFs are
Yeah.
sufficiently far from the default.
I'm gonna be
HRTF
honest. I want to play some
that's
Mass
the
Effect
red
Andromeda.
dot here, that they can toggle between PS4 style and PS5 style audio and not sense much difference. I've had a few people describe the
No,
PlayStation
I
5
understand the
3D
audio
as
because
sounding
I'm a
like
music
a bit better
producer, dude,
stereo
but,
audio.
like,
Presumably they're the ones at the very edges of
This
the
is
diagram.
crazy. You love that game, Melissa?
means
Welcome
what
to the stream,
HRTF you're
Melissa.
using is
Also,
cheap.
JC, welcome to
I'd
the
like
stream.
everyone to be able to experience what I'm experiencing, but obviously it's not possible to measure the HRTF of every PlayStation.
Would you guys
user.
like to watch some Mass
That means
Effect
HRTF
at all?
selection
If you
and
sub,
synthesis are going to be big
you know,
topics going forward as
I
the
could play
Tempest
games for you.
technology matures.
If you want.
At PlayStation 5
That is.
launch, we'll be offering a choice of 5 HRTFs. There's a simple test where you pick the one that gives you the best locality.
I just
That's
want to
just
see the
first step,
game
though.
reveal
This is
or
an
the
open-ended
console
research
reveal.
topic. Maybe you'll be sending us a photo of your ear, and we'll choose a neural
guys.
network to pick the closest
This-
HRTF in our library. Maybe you'll
This
be
is
sending us
called
a
RAM.
of your
That's all
ears
you need to
in your
know.
head, and we'll make a 3D
This
model of them and synthesize
is called
HRTF.
RAM.
Maybe
wanna know what
play
it
an audio
does?
game to
It helps
tune
the
your HRTF.
processor
Be subtly changing
think.
as you play and home in on the HRTF that gives you the highest score, meaning that it matches you.
And what does the processor do? It's basically
This is
the brain,
a journey
right?
we'll all be taking together over the next few years. Ultimately, we're committing to enabling everyone to experience that next level of
Like,
realism.
All you need to know is the basics.
Hopefully, I've been able to illustrate a bit about our design and decision-making process today.
Oh, my kitty's
and why
over here.
PlayStation 5 has the feature set that it does. Now comes the fun part. We get to see how the development community takes
Oh, so you don't
advantage
wanna
of
get
that
up?
feature set. I'm hoping
Same dude,
for the
same.
completely unexpected. Will it come from
Before I go,
audio,
did
ray
anyone
tracing, the capabilities of the SSD, or something else? I guess we'll find out soon enough. Thank you for your time today.
Bro, are you kidding? What? Yo, I guess Peter was right, bro. F's in the chat. F's in the chat. All right, guys. I think I'm gonna. I don't know what the heck just happened. They were supposed to reveal it. Did it just end without them showing what the PS5 looks like? The design? Like, what? Why would they do that? Bro, that's... Oh my god. Oh my god, guys. Oh. Oh. Your plot twist was definitely right. Bro, I'm so mad. Oh, why did they do that? What the heck? Oh, I wanted to know what the PS5 looked like. Yeah, Morrow, I feel those I feel those angry things, dude, bro. Holy crap, man. This is terrible. What the heck? It does suck. I agree, man. Oh, I'm sorry, guys. I thought it was going to be the reveal. I really did. I thought it was going to be the reveal, but guys, I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. Hit that sub button if you guys enjoyed this. That was so bad, dude. Oh my gosh. HF, happy effing trigger finger. All right, guys, if you guys want to, definitely hit that sub button on this. I'm going to be going live in a few seconds with some Mass Effect Andromeda. People want me to play some COD with them, probably later tonight. So I almost clutched a win on Battle Royale. I suck at Battle Royale. So if you guys want to, definitely hit that subscribe button. And so I'm planning on playing a lot of Call of Duty as well as Doom Eternal in 2 days. Well, Doom Eternal is going to be the main game in the 2 days coming up because I've been looking forward to that so much. Pretty much sums up 2020. Dude, there's this meme that was going around saying how 2020 is going. It's going bad for most people. Emma, what are you doing? Up. I'm here. You want to say hi? Nope, she don't want to be picked up. But yeah, guys. Oh my gosh. I think I'm just going to turn on the PlayStation right now. I'm going to turn on the PlayStation and I'm going to play some games, but this stream is going to end. I'm going to come back with some more games and some more fun. So if you guys want to check it out, Emma, stop. If you guys want to check it out, then come back if you'd like. We're going to be playing some Mass Effect Andromeda. I'm doing a playthrough of that. And then in 2 days, we're going to be switching to Doom Eternal because you know how much I love Doom Eternal. Well, you probably don't. But if you do subscribe, we're going to be doing that. And hope you guys enjoyed the stream. Come back in like 5 minutes. I'm going to use the bathroom as well. But this stream is going to end. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you so much. It's nighttime here. I gotta go to sleep. Bye, but already subbed to you and turn on notifications. Dude, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, we're gonna be doing, I usually do my streams at around like 12 p.m. Yeah, 12 p.m. my time, which is Eastern Standard Time. So I'm probably 6 hours ahead of you. 6 or 7, I'm not sure. But I'm not sure where you are, John. But yeah, let's I'm going to end this stream and we're going to come back with Mass Effect. Love you guys. I'll catch you all later. Peace out.